Good day everyone. By the way, my name is Maika Ates Pente, BSA major in Agronomy, Section A. So now I'll be reporting about Charles Darwin and the theory of natural selection. So in 1858, Charles Darwin published a famous book called On the Origin of Species. This book introduced important ideas about how life evolves. Darwin's theory focused on two key points. So the first is descent with modification. As species adapt to their environment over time, they change and develop different from their ancestors. These changes are passed down through generation. Descent with modification is the key concept in Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. It means that species change over time, passing on threads from one generation to the next. These changes or modifications happen as species adapt to the environment. Over many generations, these small changes can add up, leading to new threats or even new species. In simple terms, it's the idea that children are not exactly the same as their parents, but carry modified threats that help them survive in their environment. These different are passed down and accumulated over time. So the second is natural selection. This is the process where certain threats that help a species survive in the environment are passed on. Over time, species evolve through these helpful changes. Natural selection is a process described by Charles Darwin as the mechanism behind evolution. It explains how species evolve and adapt over time based on their environment. The key idea is that within a population, individuals have evolution interests like size, color, or strength. Some of these threats help them survive and respond more successfully. So here's how it works. So the first is variation. Within a species, individuals have different variation in threats such as speed, strength, or ability to resist disease. So the second is struggle for existence. In nature, resources like food, water, and space are limited. Organisms compete for these resources and only some survive. So the third is survival of the fittest. Individuals with threats that give them an advantage in their environment are more likely to survive and reproduce. These threats are selected by nature. So the fourth is passing on threats. The individual that survive pass on their helpful threats to their offspring. Over time, more members of the population will have these beneficial threats. So, over many generations, natural selection can lead to changes in the threats of population, and eventually new species can emerge. Darwin's ideas show that all species can connected through common ancestors, and over time, they change in response to their environment.
This is Angelica Amber. Today, I report about Darwin's 1990s theory of natural selection from observation. He started when the following three observations from nature. First, individual in population vary in their treat meaning, of which say to be repeatable passes on from parent to offspring. For example, in the population of giraffe, some may have slightly longer neck than others, and food is only available high up in the tree. The giraffe went longer neck and we have advantage. Second, a population can produce far more offspring than can survive to produce offspring of their own, which went more individuals than the environment is available of support that compete and inevitable. For example, fish. In a population of fish is a single fish may lay thousands of eggs, but not all those will hatch. Third, species generally sweat their environment. In other words, they are adapted to their environment. For example, polar bear. Polar bear are well suited to the cold Arctic.
I'm Raymond M. Honest, and I am here to discuss and give an example of natural selection. The natural environment consistently selects for the propagation of certain traits among naturally occurring variant traits in the population. The natural environment, including factors like climate, predators, availability of food, and competition, exerts pressure on individuals within population. The organisms with favorable traits are better adapted to their environment and have a better chance at survival and reproduction. Natural selection is not a conscious process. Natural selection doesn't think or decide which organisms are better. It's simply a result of their interaction between the organisms and their environment. It's a natural process that occurs. Natural selection acts on individuals, but the effects are seen in population over time. Natural selection doesn't act on a whole population at once. It affects individual organisms, but the total effect of natural selection on individuals can lead to changes in the entire population. Here is an example of natural selection. This imaginary beetle population has colonized a locale where the soil has been blackened by a brush fire. Initially, the population varies extensively in the inherited coloration of the individuals, from very light gray to dark charcoal. For hungry birds that prey on the beetle, it is easiest to spot the beetles that are lightest in color. Imagine a forest where a big fire has just happened. The ground is now mostly black. In this forest, there are beetles of many colors. Some are light gray, while others are dark charcoal. Birds like to eat these beetles, and they can see the light gray ones very easily against the black ground. So the birds are more likely to catch and eat the light gray beetles. Over time, this means there will be more and more dark charcoal beetles because they are harder for the birds to see. This is an example of natural selection, where the beetles that are best suited to their environment. In this case, the dark beetles will have the right conditions to mate, lay eggs, and ensure the survival of their offspring.
Good morning everyone, my name is Raymond Angel. Figure 1.8 between unity and diversity among birds. These four birds are variations on a common body plan. For example, each has feathers, a beak, and wings. However, these common features are highly specialized for the bird's diverse lifestyles. Great-tailed hawk, Buteo borealis. Great-tailed hawk is an predator that lives throughout North America from Alaska and northern Canada to the south in Panama and the West Indies. It is one of the 11 common members within the genus Buteo in North America or around the world. European Robin Veritacus ubicola. The European robin is a species of songbird known for its bright orange face and chest. The European robin is classified as belonging to the Decapidae, an ant family that includes the Old World flycatchers. American Flamingo Phenopterus ruger. English wadding ants, flamingos or flamingo, are a species species of ant belongs to the family Phenacopteridae, which is the only extant family in order Phenacopteriformes. There are 4 species of flamingo contribute throughout the America, including the Caribbean, and 2 species native to Afro-Eurasians. Gentle penguin, Pygoscelis matua. Sea ants penguins are special sea ants adapted to live in the sea. Some species spend up to 75% of their lives at sea, only coming ashore for breeding and molting. Penguin nails are paddle-like fins used for swimming, not flying. Over many generations, a higher and higher proportion of individuals in a population will have the advantageous traits evolution offers as the unequal reproductive success of individuals ultimately leads to adaptation to their environment, as long as the environment remains the same. That's all. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is John Vincent Estrayoso, and today I'll be continuing our report on the tree of life and the evolutionary adaptation. So, the tree of life. What is the tree of life? The tree of life, or universal tree of life, is a metaphor or a figurative speech and research tool used to explore the evolution of life and describe the relationship between organisms, both living and extinct. Okay, now that I have given you the definition of the tree of life, let's take a look at the skeletal architecture of a bat's wing. Let's take a look at the skeletal architecture of a bat's wing. These wings are not like those feather birds. The bat is a mammal. The bones, joints, nerve, and blood vessels in a bat's forelimbs, though adapted for flight, are very similar to those in the human arm, the foreleg of a horse, and the flipper of a whale. According to the Darwinian concept of descent with modification, the shared anatomy of mammalian limbs reflect inheritance of the limb structure from a common ancestor, the prototype mammal, from which all other mammals descended. So to put it briefly, the Darwinian concept of descent with modification, which means change or adapt, the anatomy of mammalian limbs means that the mammalian limbs reflect inheritance from their common ancestors. The next one is I'll be giving you the knowledge about the evolutionary adaptation. Bats, the only mammal capable of active flight, have wings sweeping between extended fingers. Darwin proposed that such adaptation are refined over time by natural selection. So in other words, evolutionary adaptation is defined as the adjustment in structure and by which a species or individual improves its ability to survive and pass on its genes from time to time. So from the word evolution, it is a specific organism that is adapting and evolving to its environment for it to survive, and from time to time it passes its genes, and that's what we call evolutionary adaptation.
Good morning everyone, I am Andres Odadia Jr. and here's my report. Darwin proposes that natural selection by its cumulative effects over long period of time could cause an ancestral species to give rise to 2 or more deficient species. This could occur, for example, if one population of organisms become fragment into several subpopulations isolated in different environments. This is separate arenas of natural selection. One species could gradually radiate into multiple species as a geographically isolated population adapted over many generations to develop environment conditions. Darwin theories natural selection explain how species can evolve over time. This can happen when a population is divided into a smaller groups that in different environments. As these groups adapt to their unique surroundings, they can change enough to become different species. The Galapagos finches are a famous example of the process of radiation of a new species from a common ancestor. Darwin collected specimens of these birds during 1835 visit to the remote Galapagos Islands, 900 kilometers off the Pacific coast of South America. These relatively young volcanic islands are home of the many species of plants and animals found nowhere else in the world. Though many Galapagos organisms are clearly related to species on the South America mainland, the Galapagos finches are true to have descended from the ancestral finch species that match the archipelago from South America or the Caribbean. Over time, Galapagos finches diversified from their ancestor of population, became adapted to different food source of their particular islands. Years after Darwin collected the finches, researchers began to sort out their evolutionary relationship, first from anatomical and geographic data and more recent with the help of DNA sequence comparisons. Galapagos finches are a well-known example of how new species can arise from a common ancestor. Darwin collected these birds in 1835 on the Galapagos Islands, which are located about 900 kilometers from South America. These islands have unique plants and animals, but many are related to those on the mainland. The finches likely came from a single ancestor that arrives from South America or the Caribbean. Over time, they adapted to different food sources on their specific islands, leading to the development of various finch species. Researchers later studied their physical traits and DNA to understand how they are all related. The next reporter will elaborate the Galapagos finches in figure 1.20. Thank you.
Hi, I am Romaria Escamilla, the last reporter of Charles Darwin in the theory of natural selection. So, I will discuss about the descent with modification adaptive of finches on the Galapagos Island. So, Charles Darwin developed his theory of natural selection from observation. So, what is natural selection? Natural selection is a process of prolific reproduction of individuals with favorable traits that survive environmental change because of those traits. I will show you an illustration of examples of a finches bird about a current hypothesis of the evolutionary relationship of finches in the Galapagos Islands. So, finches birds are related of sparrow, penguins, and all other green warbler fens. One of the Charles Darwin fences in the teenager family Triopedia, sometimes classified the family Ampezenia. So, green warbler fens is the insect eater. The habitat of harbor fens, its natural habitats are subtropical or tropical dry forest, subtropical or tropical moist montane forest, and subtropical or tropical dry land. The vegetarian bird, the bird that eats vegetables. Woodpecker fens, insect eater. It is a monomorphic species of birds. The diet of woodpecker fens revolve mostly around invertebrates, but also encompasses a variety of small tree fens. It is also a insect eater. So, small tree fens, it is a bird species belong to the Darwin's fens groups. Within the teenager family Triopedia, it has wrapping brickweed corvers. Common cactus fens, it is a cactus eater. A small cactus fence in a species of birds in Darwin's friends group. Of the tanager family, it is endemic to the Galapagos Islands, where it is found on most islands with the notable exception of Ferdinand, Hispaniola, Genovesa, Darwin, and Wolf. Large ground fence. It is a seed eater. It is the largest species of Darwin's friends, both in total size and size of beak. The father and bill color vary between males and females. Species are very similar, such as Galapagos species. So if the birds have a similarities, people too have a similarities. We have different habitats, we have different characteristics in our life, also to our bodies. And then, all of life is connected through its long evolutionary history.